which was pretty impressive actually. There were... I can't do that good. There were 39 hidden picks, 30 hard rock, and 34 hidden hard rock.
Yeah, hard rock seems to be the... Well, hidden hard rock and hard rock showed up quite a lot during the 3 more picks, so...
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's part of the fact that the AR8... Well, people were banning out... Oh, let me just remind myself. Mappools. Yeah, so people were banning out the AR8 one as well, and when it did go through, everyone was hard rocking it, so that might explain a bit more of the mod choices. And also, yeah, so the hard rock picks, How Do You Do, was getting banned out quite a bit, the second most banned, I believe, and the other one was fairly short, so it was picked quite a lot by teams who were the lower seed as well.
How Do You Do was banned out 7 times along with Altail. Euro for Jukai Girl was the second most banned with 13 bans.
Oh, I just noticed there, Golden Slaughterer has 1 ban. Guess who that was?
Yeah, it really blows me that Harinosaurus survived every match unbanned.
That's a bit surprising,
whatsoever.
Actually. It didn't get banned at all.
I thought, like, considering that's the Circle Size 5 DT, you know, it's Circle Size 5 DT can be a bit, but no. I thought Golden Slaughterer would have more bans than that. Shows what I know.
You know, people love Golden Slaughter, which is good because the Catalan makes great maps.
It does, like, it almost feels like they made for DT, like you said yesterday. It really does.
I think that was last weekend actually, but yeah.
Well, yeah. You know what I mean. But yeah, it is a great map.
We're ready to get this showcase underway, so we should get that started. However, this will be me done for now, so I will see you all next weekend.
See you, Deadbeat.
Good night, friend. Or good morning, or time zone.
Alright then, let's get this showcase started on the round of 16 maps that are going to be played in the matches next week. Of course, the layout is the same as last time. 6 no mod maps, 2 hidden, 2 hard rock, 2 double time, 3 free mod, and 4 a tiebreaker map. We'll be starting off with the no mod maps, I believe. Here we go. First map's going to be Kamisama Nejimaki. Oh, I'm going to have fun pronouncing these. This is the first proper alternation map in the pool, I'd say. The kind of map with lots of spaced out single notes that you generally have to be alternating keys on. This is a fairly high BPM for what it is, 284 beats per minute with approach rate 9.6, circular size 4, overall difficulty of 8.6. Fairly long one, just over 3.5 minutes. One of the more technical ones of the pool. When it comes to these maps,
slider spam. You have to alternate in some sections, so it's quite annoying to hold combo without being quite good at reading, and you have to have just generally feeling confident with alternating at high BPM, because you have to do one of the two.
The thing with these maps is some people, or most people, prefer to alternate. Other more speed-oriented players prefer to single tap it, and that kind of mechanic is important when picking which, because a lot of those single tap players actually really like these maps, whereas alternating players may slip up because, well, it happens. Alternating and aiming this can be tricky sometimes in a tournament setting.
You've got quite high AR and things like that, so it can be annoying sometimes. But it's one of those maps that when you're warmed up and you really want to single tap it, is just really fun just to kind of have a go at it. So a lot of the faster players will probably be doing that just for the sake of consistency.
Actual patterns themselves are fairly simply laid out. It's just down to that speed, and the fact it always keeps changing direction. one of the big reasons why I find the single tap players that play this kind of thing fare better than alternating, because of that constant direction changing. Of course, it varies from player to player. So I do find from when I watch people play these, that's usually the case.
Because you've got the people who sometimes see things like, you got most like with a dance number and things like that, where you can basically stream it instead of alternating, but when the direction changes you definitely actually have to be alternating properly or single tapping, otherwise you will miss, and you will miss a lot. So yeah, just got a fairly nice 280 BPM plus single tap map for most players in this World Cup.
Actually, another thing with this as well, lots of sliders in this. On Score V2, you got to hit each of those on time. Makes things even more tricky than what it would do in normal solo.
Indeed.
Can't see this one being terribly popular. It is a very popular map in terms of people really enjoy it, but whether people would think it'd be like a tactical pick, in certain situations, yeah, but it's definitely not a safe pick, I'd say.
Yeah, there's a lot of points where you can relatively easily miss by misreading like a stack on a slider or missing one of the repeat sliders. It's just slider breaking seems to be very, very easy to do on this map. And the fact that it's quite long can play a part, so teams who are very confident with their alternators or single tap players will may be more likely to pick it simply because it's quite long, and then that will show. And the next map we've got is, just see here, we've got Rembana Searchlight, which is a AR9, 170 BPM. It's quite long as well, so it's going past the 3-minute mark. A lot of these no mod maps are going to be quite a bit longer. This is one of those maps which is got quite a lot of focus on the consistency part, because with the AR9 and the you don't see it quite here just yet, but the jumps play a big factor. So you've got like early on square patterns, diamonds, things like that, with intermittent sliders, and just quite a lot of spaced out jumps where you need to really be quite consistent, otherwise you will miss fairly early on, and it doesn't really get any easier.
Pretty much down to just jump mechanics, this one. BPM isn't terribly high. The players at this point won't have a problem with 170, but it's just down to hitting those jumps with that approach rate 9, which for some players, they might find that quite slow, but it's a very, very neutral approach rate, that. Just down to testing that mechanical skill on a pretty long map. One of the more standard ones in the no mod pool, this one. The consistency pick, if you will.
Yeah, I think most people will probably be going for this, because this map isn't too challenging for the most part. It's just the aim is a strong part of it, and most players in this World Cup will probably be fairly confident in their aim at this level of play. I think it's more like the more technical and the more streamy maps that really play or pose a larger challenge to the players in these teams.
A lot of back and forths in this. A lot of players find that quite comfortable. Me, not so much, actually. I'm not a big fan of back and forth jumps. As a mouse player, I don't know if it's down to that, but it's not something I find terribly comfortable, and this one has quite a few of those.
It does have quite a long stream going through. Our test player has had a bit of difficulty maintaining accuracy. But just lots and lots of, well, just jumps really. The back and forths, yeah, they can play a part. They are a bit more annoying to read, a bit more annoying to play. You just got a lot of these sections where it's just like up and down across the map, which is, I like those patterns. You see them more and more in maps that are getting ranked recently.
It is a common one to want to see. You do see a lot of patterns that are just very sharp angles, almost back and forth, but usually, you know, within, say, over 100 degrees around the next jump. you don't see many linear patterns. It's something that we saw in one of the maps in the pool just gone, the 210 BPM no mod map with lots of linear patterns that cause some people problems. In this one, lots of those switchback jumps. You see a lot of. Look at those. There's some tricky triangle jumps there near the end.
Yeah, all in all, I like it when oh, yep, and the miss by our test player. Yeah, it's just that map is quite tricky. It's just mainly focused on you need to be quite confident with your A9 reading. You just need to be confident with your jumps, and you need to be able to follow a 170 BPM stream as it goes around. So it's a bit spaced, but it's not too difficult. So it's mostly just focusing on the aim. And now we have Wisdomia or whatever. I'm not going to try and pronounce it properly because there is no hope for me. But
that's it. I think you just about got it. Yeah, Wisdomia or Wisdomio. Forgive me. This is a pretty stream-heavy map. Approach rate 9.4, circle size 4, overall difficulty of 9, pretty high. Like the last map was also overall difficulty 9. 200 BPM, a bang on 2.5 minutes. One of the shorter ones, very stream heavy with that higher overall difficulty. You know, we're testing your accuracy, but at 200 BPM with some of the longer streams in this, it's a stamina challenge for some of the.
This is one of the
players.
Maps in this entire map pool, which is actually more of a stamina challenge than anything else, because it is at the 200 BPM mark, and the streams do get longer. And the fact that there is quite a high overall difficulty on it with OD9 punishes those players that. It means that you can't quite just spam through. You actually need to be confident streaming 200 BPM accurately for quite a period of time. So teams with players with high stamina, faster players will probably feel more confident picking this map, and teams who aren't feel confident in that regard will probably see it banned. So I probably expect to see this map banned out quite a fair amount.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Some of the less speed players ain't gonna want to play this against a fast team. This also has a really tricky buzz slider section. You're seeing it here with Score V2 and that overall difficulty of 9. Not slider breaking unknowns is tricky. You have to alternate them. If you single tap them, you're gonna break most likely. So the wild card section, you can see a lot of breaks from even the top teams on that, just out of just because it's such a strict time window to not break on those.
Yeah, the fact that it's also such a large part of it, and this is like one of the less stamina intensive parts coming up right now. So you've got a lot of the combos in this section, which comes right after the difficult alternating slider part, and then the longest stream in the map, which it comes after that point as well. And the map goes on, the streams get more and more spaced, and they start stacking up on each other, and the direction changes start to play a factor. So the map is just quite hard, really.
All right, next up, we have Answer by Katakiri Reka, a Deets map. It's got a approach rate of 9.3, circle size of 4, overall difficulty of 8, at 224 BPM, pretty high, just over 3.5 minutes long.
I believe we have seen this song in different maps of this song in previous World Cups. It's like, I think the 2013 World Cup had this map in the final map pool, or this song rather. But that was the AR9 version, which almost 6 stars. Which, if seeing that was quite a challenge.
Yeah, that one's actually quite old now. I think it's about 2011 that map was uploaded.
I remember it just like it was yesterday.
This is actually the guest diff by RLC, very famous mapper. Big fan of his myself.
Was he mapped the tiebreak, or was that a different version of it? I remember RLC did map a version of Playing with Fire, the extended version, which was the song used for the tiebreak of the group stage. But I don't know if it was his version that was used.
I think that's a different version. The one in the last pool was XLNI. Yeah, XLNI. Yes. That thing. It's fairly high BPM, but for the most part, it is more standard jumps. Fairly simple patterns to read. You've seen some of those symmetry patterns there. But it's essentially jumps and your usual insane patterns at a pretty high BPM. 224 is the point where players start calling it fast, so...
Yeah, this is the point where single tapping becomes an issue. Like, I think most players in the round of 16 should be able to single tap this just fine. The reading part of it is made a lot easier by the 9.3, so that becomes less of a factor as well. So this is probably a pretty staple pick where if you feel confident in your team's aim, then by all means pick this map. I don't think this map should be banned out by too many teams. You have got like the streams towards the end, which might play a factor, but it's pretty... the difficulty spikes a bit towards the end, but not too much, so I think this is a fairly safe pick for almost any team in this World Cup.
I can see with some of those irregular patterns with sliders that go off on really strange angles, can trip some people up if they're not prepared for it. But yeah, like you say, for the most part, this is going to be a consistency map. One of those ones we'll see quite a few times in the next weekend, but not as much as say Renbei in a Searchlight.
That map was probably going to show up quite a fair bit because it's not too difficult. It doesn't focus too much on stamina or accuracy. It's basically just an aim test. So it's a lot more forgiving than a map like this.
I gotta say, when I first saw this, actually, I was thinking, are they put that old version in with those weird patterns in? That'd be mean.
And I remember trying to play that for the first time back in a few years ago when that map was in the World Cup. I was trying to play that for myself when I was a rank 50k or something like that, and it may have abused me.
That looks like we're going to be moving on there to the next map. Sakura, no Uta. Do you want to go over the stuff for us?
Alright, so we've got seeing at AR 9.2, it's got 180 BPM. It's one of the longer maps in this map pool. It's actually the third longest map with a runtime of 3 minutes and 49 seconds. It's mainly, the part that makes it difficult is the fact that it's got these single tap patterns which are fairly, they don't flow particularly naturally, so they're quite irritating to play in that sense, that you have to have pay very close attention to every single note. And also the streams, they're almost removed from the single tap patterns. There's a fairly large jump every single time it goes into these streams, and then you have these streams of 5 which appear quite often after the slider sections, which are more spaced than the rest of it. So if you're not paying quite close attention, you can break relatively easily after FCing a relatively long single tap and stream section by getting caught by one of those. So I think this map is probably going to end up being banned out quite a lot because its patterns are fairly, how do I say this? They don't feel natural to play. For the most part, you have to, things like that almost star pattern is quite tricky.
Seems like there's a lot of those flower patterns, the 5-note patterns, which either go in a linear pattern or they just go in on itself a lot. I see what you mean. They don't flow completely naturally. They're more focused on building those patterns, which are always tricky because you got to really focus on snapping to them.
Yeah, I think this map focuses very much a lot on snapping. You can't very easily get by just by going flow almost. And as it gets further towards the end of the map, like 700 combo, you see patterns like that where it's 2 of these 5-note streams in a circle with more and more space sections. These single taps become more and more space, so you've got more and more jumps appearing now. The patterns start repeating themselves, the streams start appearing more and more often. Basically everything that's difficult at the start of the map becomes exacerbated towards the end of it, so you're looking at people having, the consistency plays a part. You've got the almost anti-jumps appearing, with the single taps being close together right after streams appearing in the same format, so you have to pay close attention to your reading, otherwise you will make a mistake. And you have the slider patterns with the increasingly spaced single tap jumps again. Now, that is the bit around 800 combo where people will probably be missing most of all. And as the map gets towards the end, the space streams become more and more of a factor, if I remember from memory. So
yeah, that one is going to be a tricky one.
It's quite unforgiving.
Alright then, next up, we've got Extreme Fantasy. Oh, I know this map. This is going to be one of those ones that a lot of people are going to hate, I think. At BPM 152 and pretty stream heavy and approach rate 8. It's that AR8 pick.
Oh, this map. This is 152 BPM, so you have to be fairly consistent with your low BPM streaming, and also I think it changes from quarters to thirds. So that is a thing as well. So later on in the map, you need to be cognizant constantly of the BPM you're actually playing, otherwise you will get a lot of 100s or even miss. And the patterns get more and more spaced out, the streams start getting buried, and sliders start to make an appearance later on in the map. But fairly early on, it's fairly easy to combo, but you just have to watch out for the stacked streams that happen around 350. Also, the AR will play a part. The fact that it's AR8 and low BPM you can probably pick this after a hard rock pick and then really challenge the enemy team's reading. So this map is probably going to be banned out more than most, simply because of the AR8 and the variable BPM. Because it's almost like a completely different style of play from the rest of the no mod map pool, which involves like lots of ARs higher than 9.2, lots of BPMs around 200, and this map it's very varied in comparison to those. So just for that sake, I would probably expect it to be banned out quite a lot. But teams would want to show off their reading in this map. As you get towards the end, sliders, easy to slider break on, but almost the square patterns with these sliders, which they are quite annoying. So at the end of the map, it's got some spinners, but just need to show consistency.
One thing with that as well, actually, is in some of those streams, they have 1/3 slower swing streams in the middle of them, which is really tricky to change to when you're alternating. So, yeah, that one I wouldn't be surprised to see banned.
You really gotta be impressed with the DT scores that exist on this map, but no modding it is also fairly difficult.
I think there's only one, actually, isn't it? Just the one from Marucci.
Oh,
Not sure.
Cookiesy FC'd it again.
Oh, okay. Alright then, that was the last no mod. Getting on to the hidden Poinsettia. Okay, this is another older map. AR8, the AR8 hidden. BPM of 108. OV8. Lots of star patterns in this, if you can tell from the background. And lots of older style linear patterns in this.
Oh, it does have the parts where accuracy goes to die, which is the AR8 hidden stacked streams, which become quite a fairly common theme in this map. And as the map goes on, like early on, it's a lot of streams, a lot of stacked sliders, so you have to pay close attention. And then as the map goes on, everything gets a little bit hectic with the jumps. Do you think you'll be banning this map out in particular, or going for training your team to play this?
I'm actually not 100% sure, because Blumenkranz in the last pool was really low BPM. And this one, I'm not 100% sure actually. I guess we'll see, but personally, I quite like this map, so I wouldn't mind playing it if my team's down for it. There's plenty of 1/3 swing patterns in this as well. Like here, you've seen the single taps are on 1/3 with hidden and approach rate 8. That's tricky. Also at the very end as well, which you'll see in a moment when we get there, it slows right down. Now that is a slowdown bit, and to combo wouldn't be too tricky, but those notes do overlap, and because of the heavy weight of the accuracy weighting in Scorby 2, that's a lot of points you can lose if you just bugger the accuracy up there. So a little bit more to this than meets the eye.
Seems relatively easy to around like 500 combo, the almost square patterns after the sliders. Those bits seems like traps to miss on. And the single taps leading into the streams with AR8 hidden, those can be quite deceiving, so you can relatively easily, if not miss, drop accuracy on the entire stream. And with OD8, that's going to be punished quite a bit. And of course, as you get towards the end of the map, the jumps get slightly ludicrous. as you mentioned, they are 1/3, so they are different from the rest of the map, so you have to be conscious of the rhythm as well as the streams that go before them. And the slowdown, of course, plays a part with accuracy.
All right, then. Next up, the second hidden of this pool is going to be Avalon, a tune by team Sasakuration. That's a bit of a mouthful. But the song name is Avalon, a leader map, BPM of 200, approach rate of 9.2. Pretty standard, this one. Overall difficulty of 9. Quite a few maps with fairly high overall difficulty this time.
I feel like the round of 16 is, a lot of it is also going to be showcasing the accuracy, because some of the maps in the group stage had high ODs in the no mod section and also in the free mod, but I think the accuracy is going to be the story of a lot of these matches in the round of 16, with reading with the hidden picks becoming a major factor, but also the fact that lots of these maps have streams in with quite active jump sections where if you start off on the wrong foot in terms of accuracy, then you'll probably lose it for the rest of the pattern, so you have to be constantly cognizant of this. This map generally, it's got quite repetitive single tap patterns, it's got some jumps towards the middle, and it's got some deceiving sliders which are easy to miss on. And oh yeah, you've got lots of these patterns where like the single taps will be stacked and then the stream will immediately start in between these stacked single taps, and
times, approach rate 9.6, which is approach rate 8 with triple time added, surface size 4, overall difficulty 7, a little bit higher than that due to DT.
Yeah, this. I've played this map quite a bit, and it's one of those maps which has. You have to be confident strip like playing 210 for the whole time, because it doesn't really slow down. The patterns are fairly triple heavy, which is one of the main tests of speed for a certain BPM. And also reading it is quite difficult. It's got slightly awkward jumps, so players who've been playing for quite a while will probably be used to the AR at DT patterns, but people who haven't been playing DT for very long will probably fall victim. But I think everyone in this round of 16 will probably be fairly comfortable with a pick like this, because the BPM shouldn't be too much of a challenge, but some of the patterns are quite difficult.
It's coming down to the older style. This is the Yurufua no-mod pick, a bit like how that was in the last round. This is this round's old style linear pick. It's in the DT pool. Similar speed as well. I think it's only a couple of BPM off that map. You see those patterns, very linear, lots of symmetry. You said that people will be quite comfortable on this. I imagine the DT focused will be, and the newer players, well, the newer of the newer players, the fresh faces coming in, maybe not so much. Maybe they'll have to work on this map before next weekend.
Yeah, this map kind of like the AR8 DT with the relatively high BPM kind of reminds me of DT picks from older World Cups. You saw a lot of maps that are in that similar vein. You got it's just quite difficult single tap patterns, so you have to pay attention with your reading. You have to maintain the single tapping and the triple. It's not too long, so
it's reasonable size. It ain't going to be pushing consistency too much. Actually, one thing about this I noticed is it's a lot of times it just goes into very low spacing singles into massive jumps, just a really sharp jump like that. That can be
yeah, it's quite abrupt, the difference between the two, so you need to not get very used to the spacing, otherwise you will miss and you will be sad. So
second
this
one
map, now this DT map, this is where fingers come to die. Well, for some players. For quite a few DT players, this map will be in a comfortable BPM range, but a lot of people, I think, the hard rock players and some teams may want to shy away from a map like this.
This one, Kokoro no Sumi, it's a Sync Arts tune, Snowy Dream map, BPM 217.5, that 0.5 is important. Approach rate 9.6, the same as the last map, CS 4, overall difficulty 7, the same as the last map also. Similar length, but as Rhyme said, very streamy. A bit like Golden Slaughter, except at a significantly faster speed. And you can see some of those longer streams, testing speed.
Also, like it goes into single tap, and then triple, and then a longer stream, and then immediately after that stream, you have to do quite a difficult cider pattern. And also, at some points, the streams do go quite spaced a bit, and they adjust direction quite quickly. So you need to be quite confident with your reading. So it isn't just a question of, haha, I'm able to stream this BPM longer than you. You have to pay quite close attention to the rhythm. Otherwise, you will miss.
Of course, it is very stamina intensive, but the speed isn't going to be testing the max of the fastest players of your team. But in terms of when it tests your, say, the players that are in there that aren't necessarily comfortable, those are the players that are going to be splitting the difference between teams, because, of course, the top-end players aren't going to have much problem with the speed, but it will test those non-speed players, of course. Those hard rock players in your team that have to fill it out.
Yeah, so a lot of the time you will see player changes for a map like this. But I don't think too many people ban this, because I think pretty much every team has quite a few players that are comfortable playing this BPM, and it has been around for quite a long time, and most players will have played this for the 300 plus PP it gives you, so it's probably going to be one of the more picked. I think it's for people who have confidence streaming that kind of BPM, I think it's an easier map to full combo or like to get accuracy on than Remember History. Or rather, it's like, if you're confident in it, it's easier to beat the other team with.
Yeah, pretty much. I can see this one being picked a lot. All right, then. That is the double time pool. The final pickable pool, the 3 mod picks, coming up in a minute. The first one here is another old map. It's the AR8 of the pool, the tricky one. It's going to be Nightmare. The artist is M2U. Map by Ignore This. Beats per minute 190. Circle size of 5, smaller than usual. Overall difficulty of 8.
I think this map has one of the oldest 300 PP scores in the entire game. It has like a score from quite early 2011 from Rucker with a like 99.86% accuracy within Hard Rock. So this map does go to, it was CS5, so Hard Rocking this puts you in the CS 6.5 territory, which is where your aim needs to be very, very precise. Also, the single tap patterns are quite unforgiving in terms of the fact that they may be stacked with some triples in between, so you need to read quite carefully if you want to go for hidden Hard Rock. And the aiming is just generally pretty difficult for this map.
There's actually a guest difficulty by an old popular mapper by the name of Lesja. Telly style, very linear. Not many spacing changes, but he likes to change direction a lot. And near the end here, he hits some really tricky space bursts as well.
Yeah, a lot of things he does with his maps is he has like space single tap patterns with the triple, and then another single tap, and then a stream of 5, and then it goes into another side of pattern and then repeats it. And it's kind of, with lower CS, you have to pay very, very close attention, otherwise you will just miss, because space streams with variable length with high CS, it's a recipe for success for some players and disaster for others.
It starts out fairly calm, but at the end it's really brutal. So Hard Rock players looking to avoid AR8 are going to have a terrible time with this one. Not like For My Soul.
For My Soul is relatively forgiving in that regard, but this is, of all the free mods, we'll see through the rest of the pool, but my initial predictions are this map is going to be banned out quite a bit.
And next, it's going to be, and let's give this a good shot, Kunoichi Demo Koiga Shitai. I almost got there. Alakat map. I tried, man.
And I respect you for it.
Thanks, man. Beats per minute of 185. The approach rate of 9, circle size 4, overall difficulty 8. That's bog standard for your usual Insane, really standard. A long map though, just under 4 minutes, this one.
Yeah, this is one of the much longer maps in the pool. The flow of it is quite difficult, the patterns are also fairly annoying to read with hidden, but the fact that it's AR9, the hidden isn't really that bad, so you might see a lot of people trying hidden on this, some of the more confident reading players. It's hard rockable quite easily by some people, but the difficulty does go up quite a bit because of the way the patterns are. You've got a lot of the jumps become a lot more difficult, some of the streams are quite spaced, and the fact that there are sliders mixed in with the single tap patterns makes it quite a bit more difficult to hard rock than some of the other picks in this pool. But I think this map will probably be played quite a bit, and I think it's very unlikely to get banned out by most teams.
This one is one that targets those free mod players that look to just pop hidden on when they need to pick a mod. Some tricky anti-jump patterns, tricky flow, and just strange patterns in general that make playing hidden really nasty, and just to make you think twice about whether you should be just going hard rock.
I think it's one of those maps where it doesn't trap you with like the high CS that Nightmare does, but just some of the patterns become a lot harder with hard rock. And I think just slider breaks are very, very common in a map like this, and hard rock exacerbates those. Like you see towards like 660 combo patterns like that with repeated sliders, which you probably have to alternate into longer ones. And yeah, just the fact that it doesn't flow very easily, so you have to pay close attention, make this map unforgiving for people who want to slap on hard rock or hidden just to get some extra points.
I do agree with you when you said that this might appear quite a lot, because even though the mod choices do make it a lot more tricky due to those patterns. I feel like that's the time when you bring out your super subs that can play the hidden or hard rock maps, you know, with no problems. Because on no mod, I figure it'd be quite standard. So yeah, I think we might see this one quite a bit.
Yeah, I think you only need like 2 or 3 players who can reliably like play it with hard rock or hidden. So after all, you only need to beat the other guy. So you don't have to play perfectly. You just need to play better than the other team. So, provided you have some players that can play it hard rock and hidden quite reliably, then yeah, this map should appear quite a lot.
I mean, like with the teams in right now, I mean, I'm sure every team have cover for this sort of thing. So.
Yeah, this is one of the maps where you just kind of want it to end because it's just it got the patterns, like there aren't that many repeated patterns in this map. It's just kind of dissimilar the whole way through, and then towards the very end you do have the doubles, which can play a factor, especially for hidden. So you do have to watch out for that. So you can drop at the end, but the fact that it is towards the end means that it won't be that punishing in terms of combo. So this map is, I would play this map if I were to pick for a WC team. And again, I don't have that responsibility, so.
Alright then, the last free mod is going to be Solar S-Joy mapping. Going to be a approach rate 9, circle size 3.5, that's larger than usual. Overall difficulty of 8 at 195 beats per minute. Fairly short map, just over 2 minutes. This one is a bit like FI. FI had a circle size 3, this one has circle size 3.5. The kind of thing that people will go hard rock on it just to get that approach rate 10 with a more common circle size that they're used to.
Yeah, I feel that hidden on this map, the single tap patterns are kind of, the fact that it just kind of goes round the screen very linearly, and linear patterns with a low-ish AR and repeated triples at random points and stacked on top of each other and back and forth almost patterns. So it may encourage hard rock picks. And playing hidden on this map seems relatively, it shouldn't be too difficult for hidden players, but some of the cider patterns in the middle along with the zigzag streams mean that you do have to be quite confident in the mod if you want to try it with this.
It's just one of those maps that's made up entirely of just gimmick sections, and that's the kind of thing that will throw off hidden players. Like those, see that square jump? Those
square jump into the stack stream. Yeah, that can really punish you if you're not ready for it. Especially with hidden, I think hard rock that might not catch you out so much because squares become more like normal jumps with the higher AR. But with hidden, I think, and no mod, I think that can become a thing. And you've got this nice stream section here, so that's probably going to be where people pick up some combo. And then the streams get more zigzaggy, and that slider pattern with that bit is fairly gimmicky, and that can catch you out. And then the stacked bit at the end of the stream, hidden on this map is probably going to be quite annoying.
Yeah, you can see why it's going to be tricky now, and that was, for hidden, that's going to be no fun at all.
Yeah, so credit to anyone who does well on this one.
That was the final pickable map. Going to be getting into the tiebreaker now, and I'm a big fan of this one. The tiebreaker for the round of 16 will be D for the Delta by Camellia, the professional box map for it. Just over 5 minutes, beats per minute 174, approach rate 9.4, circle size 4, overall difficulty of 8.5. A very popular map, very slider heavy D&B, lots of high velocity notes and space streams all the way through with a bit of everything. It's a bit like playing with fire, except much quicker in terms of aim.
It's what I like. It's technical, but without doubles. That makes me happy. It's also one of the maps where, in some tiebreakers, you may see people getting on the leaderboard in the top 50. So, because on the leaderboard, it's got only 3 hidden hard rock scores. It's got a few hidden and hard rock individuals, but half the leaderboard is just filled up with no mods. It's going to be quite interesting to see if people can get themselves up there. But the map starts off relatively slow and then builds up difficulty. it's one of those maps which, like quite a lot of D&B maps, it just gets more and more difficult as time goes on, because a lot of the music doesn't really change too much, so you have to find a way to change things up yourself.
There's that slow build up to ease you into it, and immediately kicks you in the chest with those really fast sliders.
The fast sliders with high slider velocity and the space streams quite towards the beginning, and then you have a lot of these like almost break periods where the streams aren't that bad, sliders are they aren't too fast, but then it throws you quite back into it with the space streams and the jumps. Oh, like that. Around 500 combo, the space stream right there, that kind of catches people. I know, because it caught me.
There's quite a few of those as well. The actual flow of it is fairly standard though. The jumps.
I forgot it's score v2, so you can't leaderboard. That's quite sad.
Nope. No rank 1s happening in this tournament. Score v2. But in spirit though, you know. Someone hidden hard rocks this, SS is it in the tournament. I'm gonna lose myself. But we can believe, you know. Well,
those patterns there with the sliders and the single taps between them, those are quite complex. Oh, and the jump, yeah, this gets quite jumpy, and the triples with on the each, like it's screen jumps with triples being the notes, so that bit is it's interesting.
Coming into this slow section. This is the point where if any team has a major combo, there's going to be a ton of 3 points in them. This goes on for about a minute or so. As a reward if you manage to nail that first section.
There's a lot of almost free combo here. So.
I mean, if people are shaking that badly to break here, then that's just really unfortunate.
And then it gets into the streamy bit, and then a bit where the spacing just increases through the stream that can catch people, but I think that's one of the much easier streams in this map to hit. It's got fairly high FOD, so maintaining accuracy on this map is probably going to be a challenge for some people, but with the caliber of players that got through to the round of 16, I think that maintaining accuracy on anything lower than like OD9 is relatively easy. But these slider patterns with space streams can force your hand in that regard.
It's going to come down to dealing with those really fast sliders and whether or not you've missed too many slider ends. Also with the Score V2, having to hit each of those on time, it's going to be tricky. More or less, that's going to be the hard part when it comes to accuracy, as opposed to just simply hitting streams. Because as you said, the players at this point, they'll be able to manage like the overall difficulty of 8.5 just fine.
So it's just catching all these slider ends with high slider velocity with relatively long sliders, but forgiving in that regard. So you might not break, but you might miss quite a lot of might drop accuracy and overall combo. The sliders towards the end do get quite a bit meaner.
Just the amount of really space streams in this. Quite a few that tend to start out space, then increase spacing as it goes on. Plenty of places to throw off the unwary. Very intense map, this one.
That little kick slider at the end of a space stream, that's quite mean. That can catch people quite easily. Yeah, so I think this tiebreak is going to be quite exciting because you have like the whole beginning section and then the middle where you see the combos build up, and then people's combos surviving these fairly difficult sections with the sliders. And then as you get towards the end, it kind of gets more relaxing and eases off.
And there we go. Of course, at the end of the day, it's Camellia, so you know people are going to enjoy it. I'm sure people will be rooting to see this. And considering how many tiebreakers we had in the group stage, wouldn't surprise me if we see this a few times next week.
Well, I'll enjoy watching it.
And that is the round of 16 map pool that's going to be played on the matches next week. Lots of tricky maps in there. Again, lots of variety in there, which I quite like. each map has its own special shtick that teams can leverage. Lots of gimmicky picks in there to test different bits and bobs of your skills. So.
You've got maps
Curious
to
to see how the
test
players do.
stamina. You've got speed with the DT a bit. You've got lots of skill taps with the 220 BPM no mod and the 280 BPM no mod. And you've got fairly high CS maps in both the free mod and the hard rock. So it kind of this map pool tests almost all aspects of a player's skill.
And with that wrapped up, it's time for us to say goodbye. Thanks for watching the group stage this weekend. It's been a blast casting. It's been good to cast with you as well, Ryan, man. Good to have you.
And it's been fun to cast with you, and I think we'll probably be showing up next weekend as well. So we'll be enjoying the round of 16 with everybody else.
Hell yeah. So we'll be saying goodbye. Bye all. Hopefully we see you next weekend for the round of 16 on the OS World Cup 2016. Bye bye.
Bye.